Hey everybody, I'm Eric Oberembt, and you're listening to Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. We talk about real shit, what's on our minds, and don't give a fuck if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. So sit back, strap in, and get ready for some real shit. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. I'm your host, Eric Oberembt, sponsored by fucking nobody. So I pay all the goddamn bills and give all of our other money to Roofers in Recovery. So share this shit. That's cost of admission. Please share this. If you think anybody can get something from this, if it can help them, if you enjoyed it, please share it because no one fucking pays me. Okay, that's out of the way. Back at IRE again, doing another interview, and I am really excited. This one has been a long time coming. We've had conversations about putting this together, but as everybody here knows, I love doing my interviews in person. And so we were finally able to figure out how to get together. And I got to bring on my friend, Jen Silver. Jen,
thank you
for being
I'm so
here.
excited we were able to make it work too.
I am too.
I know we were thinking it was going to be June in Houston.
Yeah.
But
this works out perfect.
Yeah, it does. It really
does. And
does.
speaking of real quick, I just found out during the last interview that Silver isn't your last name.
No, it is my last
or
name.
wasn't but wasn't originally.
No, I made it up.
Okay. I think I know this story, but tell it to me again.
Okay.
I think you told me.
Yeah. When I got divorced, I didn't understand why I had to keep my married name or go back to my maiden name. Like, why is it that? Why can't I choose a name? Why can't I have my own identity?
Sure.
Or does it have to be linked to something else? And I did some research and I found out I could legally change my name. It was going to cost me $2,500 and I'd have to run an ad in the paper so people could find me, right? There was some kind of a history around it. And I told my buddies and we started trying on different last names and I had 3 criteria. I wanted it to be easy to say and easy to pronounce. I was tired of spelling my last name because I'm sure that you understand that, right?
Yes.
Like nobody can get it, right?
No.
You're like, this is so annoying. Why isn't my last name Smith?
What was it?
Blazevik was my married name.
Oh, fuck, that is terrible.
Yep. And my maiden name was Daum, D-A-U-M, and they just were both really hard.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be easy to say. I wanted it to be memorable and kind of sexy, but not like stripper sexy, just like almost.
You didn't want it to be cinnamon.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Got it.
Or platinum.
Yeah.
Platinum, right? Yeah, that's another one. And then I didn't want to know anybody with that last name.
Sure.
Because I thought that would be really weird. Like
How long did it take you to pick Silver?
About a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, no, I just Googled common last names and I'd go through them and I'd pick one I liked and I'd, go meet up with my friends like, what do you think of this? And we would say, we're like, Jennifer this, Jen this. And I'm like, no. And when I showed up with Silver, everybody was like, that's it.
That's cool.
So I changed it on social media and I was going through my divorce still. So when we went to mediation, the mediator comes in and she goes, hey, I forgot to ask you what you're going to do about your last name. And I go, well, I'm not going to keep it. And I'm actually, and I tell her the story about, what I did. And she goes, that's the coolest fucking story I've ever heard. And I'm like, oh, did the mediator just say fuck in Utah? Like, is that a thing? And I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, I'm going to do you one better though. I'm going to just put it in the divorce papers. The judge is going to sign it and your name will be Jen Silver. And I go, you can do that? And she goes, yeah. Why not? I could put anything in there. And so she put my name as Jennifer Silver and the judge signed it. And I could remember like walking into the DMV going, is this really going to work? Like, are they really going to issue a license with Jen Silver? Yep, they did. So my passport's that way. I just haven't done the Social Security yet because every time I go to do it, I forget. Yeah. And like, I don't want to send everything in. I don't know. Can we add that to the list?
Add that to the list.
Add that to the list, Kimber, of getting my name changed on my Social Security card.
That's crazy. That's a really cool story. That's a really cool story.
It was incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
So, I had, some abuse in my childhood and I had repeated patterns in men that I chose as I was growing up, mostly due to self-worth issues. And I don't think I understood how broken I was until that happened because it gave me this place to come from of creation and empowerment. And, my book, when I get it done, is going to be called Becoming Jen Silver because there is a whole narrative around what that looked like and the things that I had to push through. And the name gave me so much power because I created it and it wasn't anything else. It was almost like, now I can be whatever I want and whoever I want.
Interesting.
Right? I don't have to be bound by those things.
Right. So it kind of gave you an opportunity to let some shit go
and reinvent, right?
Yeah. Interesting.
I don't think we think about it. You think about people's names and you're like, you see somebody named like Patchouli and they're a hippie, right? And you're like, of course you're a hippie. Your name's Patchouli, right? But they probably weren't born a hippie. Right. Their parents might have been. Or you see a name that's really eccentric, right? And it's the same thing. It's like names tend to suit who people are.
Yeah.
And you almost create a persona around it. So when I chose mine, it was this, it was a beautiful time in my life.
When I was 6, I wanted to change my name.
Oh yeah, what was it going to be?
Rico.
Suave?
No.
Rico.
Based off of the Chips character.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I love that. That is awesome.
Very embarrassing.
No, it's so cute.
It was that and Michael Knight, because I watched Knight Rider when I was a kid. I don't know if I've told this story before, but when I was told this story because I don't remember it, right? But I was like 5 years old and I was in kindergarten. And if you watch Knight Rider, like we all did growing up, Michael Knight talked to his watch to talk to his car,
yes,
right?
I remember that.
And so
it was so crazy. Who talks to their watch?
Right.
Oh, I do all the time.
Well, now yeah, exactly. Like, how did that come into fruition and actually happen? But so apparently I was in kindergarten and I did not care for my kindergarten teacher.
Nice.
And she angered me apparently this day. And I guess I stood in the middle of the room and I said, Kit, teacher's being a bitch. Come pick me up. And and I think Mom got called that day.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome.
And I thought Kit was going to come pick me up.
Yeah, you were
and
like,
whoo, 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 yeah.
That is amazing.
Yes.
I was really into Michael Jackson. Like I had the glove.
Really?
And I had like the clothes and I like tried to moonwalk and stuff. From the time I was about 3 until 6 or 7, when I realized I wasn't, like I couldn't really pretend to be an African-American dude.
Right.
Like it didn't go very well.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah.
But at the same time, I had this huge obsession and I would call myself Michael Jackson apparently.
Oh, you called yourself.
And I would like perform. Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's awesome.
I had the gloves and all the things.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about what's going on in your life now. We were kind of coming up in the elevator talking about it a little bit, but like some things that you're passionate about that we are kind of seeing out there in public now and conversations that people aren't having that I think that this is a good place to have.
I agree. So I've got 2 things that I'm super passionate. Well, I've got lots of things that I'm super passionate about, but I think 2 is probably reasonable for today. First of all, I'm really passionate about not ostracizing children that don't go to college, right? Or not creating a narrative.
Do you think we still do that as much?
We absolutely do.
Okay.
We absolutely do.
I don't. So like, I don't know. Yeah.
I got into an argument with my kid's school not that long ago because across the cafeteria it says where every kid goes to college.
Ah.
And I lost my shit.
Ooh, that would have pissed me off too.
And I go, not every kid in this room should go to college or can go to college.
Right.
So you saying that makes them wrong. Like you're making, and you're creating a narrative in elementary school that they're wrong.
Yeah.
Like all of those self-limiting beliefs. Oh, I don't think they knew what to do with me because it genuinely pisses me off. And it pisses me off every time I walk in there. And, essentially it was this is our thing. Like we don't have control over it. We can't say anything. And I'm like, of course you can't. Right? Nobody has control over anything anymore,
who does?
Right? It's like, it's a bunch of bullshit. But I hate that narrative. And I think, I didn't go to college. And I could have. I got into every college I applied to. I graduated with a 3.9 and a 1360 on my SATs, but there wasn't anything that I knew I wanted to be that required it at that time. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be an attorney, although I probably should have been an attorney. I'd been a great attorney.
Yeah, you argue a lot.
But but I love the law too, right?
The law.
The law part of it.
Got it.
The law
okay,
part.
All right.
And I really don't apparently mind being a target either, and people getting pissed off at me.
Right.
So
that's fair.
But so I could not justify going to college and spending a bunch of money when I didn't think I needed it. So I just started working, and that worked for me. And people are shocked when they're like, you didn't go to college? And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I'm smart. And I didn't go to college, and that's okay.
Yeah, you can buy books.
Yeah, it's totally okay. So I'm really passionate about changing that narrative.
Okay.
And I'm getting ready to launch a t-shirt line. And the hashtag is Bring Back Trades. But the t-shirt line says things like, no, I didn't go to college, and yes, I make more money than you. I work hard to pay off your student loans.
I will fucking wear that shirt.
Everybody. I think it's a conversation we need to have. Like I have one shirt that says I'm not anti-college, I'm just pro-choice about everything. Right?
Yeah.
There's a shirt that's it says proud parent of a tradesperson, not a barista with a 4-year degree living in my basement.
Ooh, that one will cut deep.
And I knew that though,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
and I don't necessarily even feel that way, but if we're going to shift the way that society views things or societal ideologies, if you want to call it that, we have to piss people off to get attention.
Yeah.
Like kind and, status quo things don't change history. It doesn't change the way people think. So it is a very strategic pissing people off, right? And poking into that area that I know is sensitive for some people in the hopes that it raises enough awareness that we stop doing that to kids.
Sure.
And it's all funneling into a nonprofit. And, I've talked to you before, but I want to buy a hotel in like Southern Kansas or Southern Missouri and take that hotel and turn it into an actual trade college. So
you haven't told me this.
I haven't?
No,
I totally thought we talked about this when we were in Powell.
No.
So anyways, I want to turn a hotel into a trade college. And I want to have 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, and 12-month certifications. I'm going to start exterior only because that's where obviously my experience is and that's where my network is. I have an army of people that are supporting it. I've got manufacturers that are, willing to send in immigration attorneys. I've got people that are willing to come down and do renovations to get it ready to go. I've got...
When you do get inside, like I hate interior work, but like trim carpenters, like those guys are geniuses. You know what I mean? The ones that are like really, really good and they can make really good money when they really learn that craft. And they all learn it from apprenticeships. Like none of them go to school.
But that's the thing, right? Like in 10 years from now, if we don't get this sorted out, that job is going to be the highest paid job in the country because there won't be enough of them.
Right.
When you look at the supply demand, the whole supply demand, and even now, if you look at the average salary of a tradesperson comparison to the average salary of someone with a 4-year degree, trades are way up there with, they're higher over the course of a life with no debt.
Yeah, but there's stigma attached to it.
Correct. Like it's somehow, I have one shirt that says all collars matter. Right? And they've got a white one and a blue one.
That'll ruffle too.
I'm aware.
Yeah. Like, no, that's great. I mean, that's fine. I like that.
I'm intending to ruffle feathers,
Yeah.
right? I want to shift the way people think about it.
Right.
Because people that work hard, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
We're not better because we're doctors. We're not better because of attorneys, right? You're different. You've been educated differently, and I agree that.
And we need those people.
Correct. But we also need people that are going to build houses, and we need people that are going to have skilled trades and fix our toilets. Because Lord knows, doctor's not going to get his hands stuck in shit.
Right.
Well, like maybe at work, depending on what kind of doctor.
What kind
he
of
is.
doctor?
If he's a proctologist, that might be it. Yeah, I might have just like.
He's going to get. Yeah, he's going to get.
There
He's
might
going
be
to
a
have
lot
a brown
of shit that he
finger.
has to do.
Yeah, he's checking oil. Yeah.
But anyways, so that's one of the things I think that I know that I'm really passionate about. And my goal is to generate enough momentum and acknowledgement around who I am as a brand and what I'm up to so that, I can get into Washington and lobby for high school education reform. That is my long-term goal. I want to shift back to kids being adults at 18 and being equipped to do life. Yeah, they can still choose other paths after that. But we disabled them, and we disabled them in like early 2000s when the word adult became a verb. Like it's now what stage of adulting are you? I mean, I'm sure you were like me. I moved out at 17, second I graduated from high school.
Yeah.
I've never moved back home. I mean, my parents have helped and supported me along the way, right? I get that. But I knew how to be an adult. I knew how to do things. I knew how to grocery shop. I knew how to, balance checkbook. I understood that.
Remember they taught us that in high school?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like how credit cards work, like compound interest.
Yeah.
I understood the importance of reading contracts. There were just things that I was taught. That's kind of an interesting.
Yeah, that's fucking annoying, isn't it? Sorry, if y'all can't hear that, somebody's tapping on the ceiling. Hey, motherfucker, we're filming.
That's all right. Yeah. It's just part of the flavor
part
of the
show,
aura.
Right?
Yeah. But no, like I want to get that back in. We have a country of disabled voters. And I'm worried more so about millennials than I am anybody else. And, I'm generalizing, but when you look at millennials, from a generational standpoint, they do whatever influencers tell them. They do whatever the media tells them.
Yep.
They don't do the research because Google came out then and everybody believed that Google was the truth.
Right.
Right. And anything on the internet was facts. And so that's where they go. And I look at some of the things and propaganda that gets put out there by, various different avenues, whether it's insurance companies, whether it's credit card companies, whether it's big pharma, whether it's the government, whatever it is. And people don't know how to decipher and find the truth. Mm-hmm. And so we've got people out there that are, voting now because millennials are 40-ish and 40.
Are they?
Yeah, they were 82. What year were you born?
79.
Okay, and I was born in 80. So we're like cuspers.
Yeah.
Right? Most millennials start at 82 and they go to, I think, 94-ish, depending. Like there's some variations around that.
Yeah.
But they're who's out there.
I guess I never realized that was the actual. I never paid attention to the actual timeline. I always thought they were younger. It's just because I'm fucking old.
So Gen Z starts in 94, and they're actually very different generations, which is interesting. People collapse them a lot.
Yeah.
I talked about this at Best of Success this year is actually what I spoke on. But Gen Z was raised during the Great Recession, right, of the 2007, whereas millennials were raised during an economic boom. So the way Gen Zs look at life is very different. They want stability. They don't want a job hop. They want a job that's going to develop them. They want a long-term career path, but they would rather stay loyal and committed and work through the hard times like their parents did.
Right.
And they don't believe influencers as much. They actually trust their parents and like specific people in their life to advise them.
Sure.
But millennials, they're not that way. They have a tendency to watch videos and do exactly what they're told to do or lean towards something or believe the ads on TV when it comes to politicians and vote the way that makes them feel good and not necessarily understanding the impact around everything. So with that being said, we have disabled voters. It works really well for those people that need people to not think for themselves, but we're heading down a path that scares me, and it scares me for the future. It scares me for my grandson. It scares me.
Is that kind of what, like when you knew you're having a grandson, did that kind of like really ramp up the fucking...
Probably.
Yeah.
I think becoming aware of corporate America swooping in, okay, this is really, I think, what pushed me. I've been saying for the last, 2 years on stage, like, hey guys, we're going to be at a place from ACV policies and, percentage deductibles, like the way that the insurance proceeds model works right now isn't going to be the same.
Right.
I think we have 3 to 5 years, but it's not going to. And people are kind of like, okay, whatever. And it started rolling out much quicker. And I think that because it's coupled with the recession, whatever the hell this thing is that we're in, anyways, because it's coupled with that, I actually am more worried about what roofing contractors and what people are going to do without thinking about it. Like, consider you knock a door, right? There's damage. You talk the homeowner into going and filing a claim, and they have an ACB only policy and they didn't know. And they tell the roofer, oh yeah, I have full coverage, because that's what they believe, right? Most homeowners don't even know who the hell their insurance company is.
Correct.
Let alone what their coverage is, but they tell them that. So they file the claim, the insurance company comes out and approves it, right? Banking on the fact that the homeowner's not going to have that extra money. So then they're going to drop them, right? Because they probably, being that we're in a recession, credit scores are going to go down. People are not going to be able to qualify for financing like they did in the past. And they're not going to do it. The insurance company will drop them. They'll go try to find other insurance. They won't be able to do it. Insurance is going to notify the mortgage company. And the mortgage companies, because of the fact that we are in a recession and there will be foreclosures and things going on, I think they're going to be quicker to hold people accountable for not having insurance and not having those types of things out of paranoia and precautionary type of ways. And then they're going to foreclose. And then more corporate America is going to come in and continue to buy up the middle class. And I see us very, very quickly being a predominantly socialistic middle class. I think you'll have lower income housing that is, owned by the government. I think middle class will be mostly owned by corporate America. And then you'll have, upper class that own everything else. And to me, that's communism in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it scares me.
If that happens, I want to make sure I'm on the upper level then.
Yeah, me too. For sure.
So I can wave at those motherfuckers down there. Like,
I don't know. Like, I don't think people really get it. They don't really see what is going on out there, and it scares me. So
yeah, people have blinders on for sure. They live in their kind of their little world, and
we don't want to get uncomfortable.
Right.
We don't want to be accountable.
Right.
Like we won't call anybody else out on theirs, so nobody calls me out on mine.
Right.
That's the society that we live in.
Yeah, don't disagree.
Yeah.
What was your you touched on it at the beginning, but what was your past like growing up?
So my dad was a cop.
Okay.
And cops have a hard life. Like, I don't know, how much you know about that. Like, I've watched him be spit on. I've watched him be called names. And it was really hard. He grew up in an abusive family as well. And, I love my dad, and we've come a long way in our relationship. And I don't like to be a victim, right? So it's hard for me to talk about abuse and things like that because I realize my trauma may not be on a scale the same for other people, but it did affect me pretty significantly.
Trauma's trauma.
And there was a long time when I would try to talk to my dad about some of the things that happened growing up, and I was not sexually abused.
Right.
It was mostly physical and emotional abuse. And
thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, because, I don't want people to
think, because people are going to be like, what happened? I wasn't going to ask the question.
No, and you could have, but like, I don't want people to think that about my dad either, right? Like, but I can remember being afraid of seeing him in the hallway because if I crossed his path in the hallway, more than likely he was going to smack me into the wall and call me a stupid fucking bitch or something along those lines. And I feel bad for my dad because I don't think he knew anything any better. And when he was a kid, it wasn't okay for men to get counseling, right? Nobody.
Was it always like that? Or was it like 80% of the time that? Or were there like loving good moments too?
I'm sure there were loving good moments. Most of the time it came out of guilt afterwards. Like he would take me shopping. And so in his world, probably in my world, that doesn't fix it.
Yeah. No,
right?
I was curious. Yeah.
And so there were challenges. I stood up to him probably the first time at 13.
Okay.
And I can remember him raising his hand to hit me. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? If it makes you feel like a bigger man to hit me, go ahead. But I don't give a fuck anymore.
Wow.
And I can still picture the rage in that moment that he had, but he didn't hit me. And it significantly impacted our relationship from then on because I didn't respect him. Now I was an asshole too. Don't get me wrong. Like I got really entitled when I was a teenager and I, had no respect for him. And I don't think that was right either by any means. And I've apologized and, cleaned that up, but it made me broken, right? Like I didn't ever feel loved by my dad. And so I looked for it in men and I looked for it from other places. And it was a void that I could never fill because I looked for men that reaffirmed that I wasn't worthy of love, right? I looked for people in situations to make myself right about that because we have a tendency to force ourselves down our channels to be right about our self-limiting beliefs if you don't understand what they are.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so it was just this perpetuating cycle.
And how long, have you broken out of that chain finally?
Yeah. When I went through my last breakup in 2021 in January, I told myself I would not date again until I didn't need anybody.
Right.
Right. Like
that's the best time.
Well, and I didn't realize that. Like,
yeah.
It was always easier for me to just find another guy to swoop in and make me feel better. Right. And to rescue me, so to speak, even though I'm a strong woman, I still needed emotional rescuing. And I just said, no, Jen, you're doing the same things over and over and over, right? This is the definition of insanity, but you want different results. You're going to do something different. And so I stayed single and I pushed through some stuff. Like I pushed through fears that I didn't even know existed inside of me. And looking at, gender bias and what women are taught around how to deal with fear in comparison to what men are taught around how to deal with fear. I mean, let's face it. If a little boy comes up to his dad and says, hey, I'm scared, he's going to be like, don't be a pussy, go do it, right? But a little girl comes up to her dad and says, hey, I'm scared. It's, I got you, Betty, or I got you, baby. Come here, daddy will make it all better. Like everything's going to be okay. There's no boogeyman. Daddy's not going to let anything happen to you. We're screwing them both over, right? Because we don't teach them how to understand their fear and analyze their fear and then work through their fear. We've got men that are overconfident doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And then teenagers dying in cars because they're not allowed to be afraid. And then you've got women who are paralyzed by fear, who don't have any idea how to take risks appropriately or how to assess a risk or work through those things. And it's just a big old fucking mess.
It is. Tell me when we were talking about it a little bit coming up, because I know you kind of wanted to dive into that a little bit, right? What's the conversation that you want people to be able to have, right? Because that's what I like to do here, is to be able to open that dialogue up so other people will start talking about it. But what's the conversation? I
think, so there's a lot of things. I don't like victimization. I feel like right now we live in a society of victimization because it takes away from true victims. Because there are people out there that have...
Oh my God, was that just not on the Chris Rock special the other night?
I don't know. I don't watch.
You have to watch it. He literally does 15 minutes on this, but...
Oh, that's awesome. I had no idea, right?
Literally
really
goes into it. Yeah, but go ahead. Sorry.
I will have to. Can you make a note of that, Kimber? The Chris Rock special?
It's really good.
I love having Kimber.
Yeah,
She's
right?
amazing. So I really don't like victimization. And it's a way of avoiding taking responsibility and being accountable. And I get it. Like, I get that society has conditioned us to be that way. But I did a post the other day. I had dinner with a couple ladies from the National Women in Roofing, the former president and another board member. And I said, look, you guys are, in my opinion, we're not doing women any favors here. Like, we're not generating the right conversations. And they're like, well, what are the right conversations? And
what are the wrong ones that they're having?
How to find a male ally.
Oh, okay.
Like, add pronouns, and I am very supportive of every community. I just don't know that that's the message for this. Right?
Sure.
So I go, look, we need to be teaching things like how to assess fear, how to push through fear, how to identify your negative self-limiting beliefs, how to have difficult conversations, how to dress for the attention that you want.
Right.
And they go, well, we can't talk about that. I go, I fucking can.
Right.
Put me on a panel.
Right.
And I will tell them, look, I don't care if you want to show your tits.
Why can't we? Why can't they?
Because
say we like I'm included.
You've got vendor relationships.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
Other
okay,
things,
that's
right?
why
it becomes stickier for them.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I said, look, I don't care if you want to show your tits. Like, more power to you, but understand that that's the attention you're going to attract.
Right.
So if you dangle a steak in front of a lion and he bites, don't get pissed.
It's a lion.
It's a lion.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, again, you're not a victim. You created that reality. Now, if he doesn't understand and you've said, hey, I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong impression, and it goes on, yes, okay, that's a different conversation.
Correct.
But, and there are women that want that attention. And again, I don't care, but just own it.
Understand what comes of it. It's not to derail, but like, this is a conversation I have with my 7-year-old, right? Not about wearing hoary clothes, but like, we have to have conversations where she goes, can I do that? And I'm like, sweetheart, you can do anything you want, but just understand that there's
a consequence.
There's a consequence to whatever you do, good or bad.
Yep.
So if you do good things, there'll be good consequences. You can choose to do whatever fucked up shit you want, but then you might get in trouble. Do you like getting in trouble? No, I don't. Well, then I probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
but it's
that's
100.
Just my assessment,
but it's 100% up to you. If you want to be an asshole and you want to do this, that's fine. But now it backfires on me.
Yeah. Kids are too smart.
Fuck. It backfires because now, like, when I leave town, she gets really upset when I leave town. She doesn't like it when dad leaves and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, honey, I got to go to this thing and I'm going to be gone for 2 days or whatever. And she's like, Daddy, you don't have to go. You choose to go. And I'm like, you little shit. Like, every time. And I'm like, you're right, honey. And then I have to go into, but I'm helping these people and I'm doing this and, blah, blah, blah. And
I choose to make the world a better place for you.
Yeah, but it's just,
I get it.
But it's an interesting conversation, to have, because like you said, they're smarter than you think and they pick up on that shit. But are we being intentional about what it is that we are teaching them at, whether it's a young age, a teenager age, whatever it is?
Yeah.
Are we having those conversations? But go on with what you're saying. It just rang true.
It's true. And I think the way that you're parenting, in my opinion, is the best way to parent. It's how I parent too. My daughter went to kindergarten and the kindergarten teacher called me and she's like having a 16-year-old in this class. Like, her ability to work through things and ask questions. And I said, we talk down to kids like we think they can't handle certain things, and I believe they can.
Right.
And we don't teach them at a young age to assess their fear. and how to work through it. And okay, what's the worst case scenario? Okay, then what? And then what?
Right.
And then what? Until you get to what's the worst case? Okay, what's how likely is that going to happen?
Right.
Right. And if it did happen, then what? Right. Mm-hmm. And I've done that exercise with my kids, and yeah, I'm sure my daughter still uses I'm afraid sometimes, but not very often because I don't buy it. Right. And she works through it. And I appreciate that. But I'm having this dinner and I'm talking about these clothes. I'm talking about all these things. And I said, bring a stylist in, right? Teach women how to dress for their body style. Like, we are closely linked to our physical appearance, and our confidence oftentimes is linked to that.
Yeah.
So teaching women what would accent their body, and then I said, and then teach them how to shop at a thrift store, so they don't get in their head that it's too much money to do this. I mean, for the first year I spoke, I was in thrift store clothes all the time because I didn't have any money. You know, I would go buy blazers and I would alternate them in and out, and I looked nice. Like, I put it all together. But I just don't think we're not.
It is. It's all about confidence. Like, so, I mean, I'm a man trying to whatever, but like, so I'm just giving my life experiences, whatever. But I was literally just talking to Benny about this because a part of my story that he didn't know was, obviously a lot of people know that have heard my keynote and stuff. Like, I was a fat fuck for a while, right? Like, when I was going through my drug addiction and everything else, I was 310 pounds. I was bloated, big, fat head. Like, I didn't look good. And I was an athlete all growing up, right? I mean, I played football, I played baseball, I played, all the sports. I was an athlete. And then I got really big, overweight, lost all of my self-confidence, lost everything. I always felt alone, everything, right? And so I made a decision to lose the weight, right? Get back in the gym. That was where I lived before, start eating right, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up losing almost 100 pounds. And so I felt good about that because, like, I could wear clothes at least again and look okay, but I was still very self-conscious, right? Yeah. I still didn't want to get in a pool, right? And like, I felt bad because, like, I didn't want to go swimming with my little girl.
Right? If you were getting
but like, that's even worse. Like, fat guys in the pool is worse because now you just have fat t-shirt tits and like, stop, you know what I mean?
Okay, I get
like,
that.
just own it. Like, it's okay and just own it, right? Like, you don't have to do that. But I was super self-conscious. And so I actually went and had surgery. I don't know if you even know this.
I don't think so.
So I lost 100 pounds, 90 pounds, and I kept it off for 2.5 years, right? And I decided that I was going to go because I went to the doctor and I was like, what else can I do? I'm like,
because of your skin?
Yeah. And I was like, I lost all this fucking weight. I'm like, but I still can't wear I had this dream. Like, I wanted to be able to wear t-shirts and wife beaters.
Okay.
Don't know why.
It
but
was
like,
just what you wanted?
I felt like
was it like your skin here?
No.
Okay.
Everywhere else, right?
Okay.
And I was like, but that was how I would know if I was at the place I was trying to get to, right? And so they're like, no, man, like, there's nothing you can do. It's loose skin. Like, you're fucked. I'm like, well, I'm not. Like, what's the other option? They're like, you can cut it all off. I'm like, well, that sounds painful. And they're like, it is. I'm like, okay. So I went in and saw a plastic surgeon, and they're like, we can cut off like 8 pounds of flesh. And I went in there like, we're going to have to do 3 procedures. We're going to have to cut your chest, your stomach, and your back. And I was like, okay. I said, well, here's the thing. I'm busy. I said, I don't have time for 3 recoveries. I go, you get 1. And they're like, yeah, we don't recommend doing all of these procedures at the same time. I'm like, so, like I said,
let me do this again.
I'm busy. I have 1 recovery in me. And they're like, okay. And I went under the knife and I had 8 pounds of flesh cut off me.
Wow.
And I couldn't leave my house for like 4.5 weeks. I was having people come to my house to have sales meetings because I was bound and I had 6 drains coming out of me. It like hurt to sit down because I had 2 drains like in my pelvic, like right above my dick. Like, to sit down was like, it hurt so bad. And it was just the worst pain.
Well, and you couldn't get away from it because you did your back, your chest, and your chest.
Yes, like it was awful. And so, but that being said, the worst, it was awful. But when I got done and I was able to get back into the gym and like start being who I was, and I could actually see transformation as I was working hard, my confidence level completely changed. I walk around with my shoulders back. I was the guy that walked like this and sat watching TV with a pillow on my stomach. right? Because I was so self-conscious about it, right? And I'm not saying that if you're self-conscious about it, the answer is go have fucking surgery. Like that's not it. But I was, and like I own that like I had that time. But whatever it is, for you to be able to get that confidence level, it completely changes who you are as a human and how you interact with other people. It gave me the ability to have a show like this where I get to be the authentic version of myself, because I'm not trying to hide behind something so that people don't see that uncomfortable side of me. Because I'm naturally, I talk about this all the time, but like I'm naturally an introvert. I'm not an extroverted person, right? People think that I am because I'll stand up on stage and I'll talk to thousands of people and I'll whatever. But like large groups of people, fuck you. I hate that shit. Like I hate having to walk around and talking to 1,000 people. Right? Yep. I love talking to people.
Correct. Yeah.
But I hate the group. Like we went to the Beacon party last night and it was great. I was there till like 9 o'clock and I was like, okay, ready to go.
Yeah.
Time to go. And I'd go into the room and then like walk out for 10 minutes to like, have a breath and then go back in, because then people walk up and they're like, oh, I love your shit and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, thank you. Who are you? You know, and they're like, I messaged you. I'm like, did I respond? Like, fuck, I'm sorry. Yeah. But like, I love that. And I love having one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like real conversations. But the point of all that is figure out what it is that is holding you back from being able to have that confidence. Because if you have your confidence, you get to be the person that you were supposed to be, and you don't have to hide behind something. And
you're right. And if that's what we focused on, right? Teaching women or teaching men, whatever, right? Like I asked a question on Facebook this week, like, what would you like to see women learn? And people took it to mean man versus woman. Like that I'm asking, what do women need to learn in comparison to men? And I said, men, I would like you guys to weigh in. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
Right.
But I don't look at this as I don't look at what's broken in women as a man's problem. I truly don't believe it is a man's problem. I think that it is a problem within us. Now, I do believe men contribute to it in a lot of ways, but it's because we allow it and we can't accept not being a victim and take accountability for things. You look at society and what society says is acceptable for a woman in comparison to what society says is acceptable for a man. We really can't do much. We're not allowed to have sex, allegedly. You know, we're not allowed.
Allegedly.
Well, like, I mean, I'm serious. Like, there is a stigma around that, right? A girl has sex, she's a whore.
Right.
A guy has sex, he's a stud. Like, that still exists to these days.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, we're still all programmed the same way. We're still all sexual beings.
Right.
So we have those things that happen. And as women, we're constantly reminded that we're bad or that we're wrong or we didn't do it the right way. And
why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
That's fair. Yeah.
I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah.
I'll think about it though.
Yeah. Okay? I mean, it's a question.
It is a great question. I don't know why it is that way. I just know that it is.
Yeah.
And we become broken. And we become broken in a very young age where we feel ashamed of the things that we've done in life. And there's no safe place to go and talk about it. And so it comes out as judgment. And it comes out as talking about people behind their back, because that's better than shining the light on ourselves and what we did and accepting it. And women are, like, I said this at Grace and Grind, because I kind of hit on some of these points there. It's a whole nother story. I can't believe I did that shit, but I did. But I said, you ever wonder why you can put a bunch of men in a room together and they're going to like move logs and shit, and they're going to like come out best friends and like it's super awesome. Right. You put a bunch of women in a room together, nobody's talking. Nobody's going to be vulnerable. They're all going to do a level of participation, but they're all worried about who's going to talk about them when they walk out of the room, who's going to share their stories, because if they were vulnerable and intimate and shared things, somebody's going to use it against them. Somebody's going to stab them in the back. I go, that's a problem, but that's not a man problem, right? That's a woman problem. Like I don't want to be as good as a man. I want to be better in some areas, right? And men are better in some areas. Yeah. Like we move logs better. But you move logs better, right? I mean, maybe depending on the size of the log,
correct.
I might have a strategy around it that might not be.
You'd have a better strategy.
I probably, right? But I don't want that. I just want to be viewed equally as far as what I contribute, even though my contributions are different, right? that doesn't mean they have less value.
I think the word equal is what brings up the hard conversation, because it doesn't mean the same. Equal doesn't mean the same.
Correct.
Right? It's totally different.
But it does, we think it means the same.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Equality is actually what we're going toward for, but we use equal, and it doesn't, we're never going to, I don't want to be the same as another white woman.
Right.
Let alone a dude.
Right.
Right? Like, I want to be me. I want to be recognized as an individual for what I contribute as an individual. And yes, maybe I'm not a doctor, right? Maybe I'm not saving lives, but I'm changing them.
Yeah.
Right? And and if you're not changing lives, you're raising kids. You're doing something. There's no less value to is that word, less value?
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
Go with it.
You're not of less value.
Right.
Of less value. That's
of less value. There you go.
I was like, this is not making sense.
We need prepositions. Yes.
From a grammar standpoint.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so you're not of less value, though, if you are doing a different type of a job. Like, we can't function without people that don't take out our trash.
Right.
Can't function without them. We also can't function without doctors. All of them have value in society. Mm-hmm. Now, monetarily, is their value the same? Probably not, because the doctor has risk associated with it from a malpractice standpoint and, education and things like that. But from a human standpoint, we need them all. We got to wrap it up.
We do.
I could talk to you forever.
This is how we end every show, though. Okay. I want the guest, I always give the guest the floor back for the last 2 or 3 minutes for anything that we forgot to touch on or that you want to reiterate that we talked about to leave everybody with.
Okay. I think I want to leave people with, we are only limited by ourselves. People have told me all along, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to make a difference. People aren't going to listen to you. You're not going to shift the way the industry is. You've got a bunch of old guys who don't care about anything else, right? And I'm like, I'm going to try. Mm-hmm. And I hear a lot of the same things when it comes to, education reform and things like that. And I remind myself what the Lorax said, which is, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to ever get better. It's not. And I don't care if I ever accomplish it. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to, but at least I'm going to try, because nobody else will even try because they believe it's impossible.
Sure.
And I want people to know that really there isn't anything impossible. It's only what you limit in your mind that you think is possible. If somebody else has done it, you can do it too. May take you more, may be more of an effort. You may have to train harder. Like, we're not all gifted the same way, but it is possible. So don't allow people to tell you things that you want to accomplish that you're not going to, or that it's impossible for you.
That's awesome. Jen, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Come back, watch the next one, share the shit out of this. Make sure that people get to hear Jen's story. Get this out to your friends, your network, and everything else. And remember, everybody, be authentic. Get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic. Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic.